Oh, I ain't making a quip about this movie. I will show a new intro, though. Beasts of No Nation. Now, I don't know why, but I've held off on seeing this just because I wanted to be in the mood to watch it. And today I was, and oh yeah. It's depressing. Now, some films have kind of touched on the idea of child soldiers. There was a bit of it in Blood Diamond, but Blood Diamond, as interesting and as entertaining of a movie that is, it is highly Hollywoodized. So I was kind of a little bit hesitant to watch Beasts of No Nation because even though it's directed by the guy who did the entire first season of True Detective, I was just like, had this fear that there was going to be this Hollywood dramatization of child soldiers. And least to say, it wasn't, because the one thing that was it is about a single boy called Agu, but what his experience is reflected onto what is happening to the other children in this rebel group that he's in. It shows not only what happened to him before, but what happened to him during. And not only does it show him hating what he's doing, him enjoying what he's doing, him regretting what he's doing, but it also shows after and his own version of PTSD and him trying to reconcile with what he did. The film is really, really good. It's amazingly depressing, but it is very good. Not only is the directing fantastic, but for the director of this, he did all 8 episodes of the first season of True Detective. So from going from an 8-hour, basically movie to a 2-hour long film, he probably thought this was like a cakewalk. So his dedication and his detail to everything is fantastic, and the acting is really good too from all of these characters. Like, the thing that you kind of get you're a little bit afraid of is that sometimes the acting will be forced, it won't be realistic, it'll just be kind of characterized, but it was really good. The only thing that's probably the most haunting thing, amongst everything else, is that how well this film depicts what happens to child soldiers. Obviously it is based off a true story, based off someone's experiences, but I remember doing a study about these in high school and then doing some post-work in university, and I remember reading all the tactics that these commandants and these commanders will use to brainwash children. They'll make them basically tell them that they're the only ones who can protect them. They are their fathers. They are their figures. They are the only people that matter to them now. They'll drug them. They'll beat them. They'll torture them. They will pit them against each other for his approval. He will always focus on a single one, and then he'll make him this high. It'll make him make him feel like he's the top part of the group, and then he'll move on to the next. And that other child, that previous one, who's now just hit the bottom, he's continually trying to regain that position, and that's everything in this movie. Idris Elba is great as Commandant. This guy can do a really good bad guy that even for the material of this film, you almost like him, but that's probably for like the first 20 minutes, and then you just start to hate him. But the problem is, you can see this control that he has on these kids, and you can see why Agu and all the other boys are just drawn to him, because he is he's brainwashing them, and his scenes are fantastic. But what I like, there is a scene in the film where he goes to meet his commander, and we see the same tactics being used by the Supreme Commander of the NDF on Idris Elba's character, and it's incredible to see it. Because it's just the chain just goes up, and so does the tactics of use on these children. Other great things to talk about is there's a scene in this film that really reminds me of the girl in the red dress scene from Schindler's List, because there's this sort of color distortion, because at one point they're attacking this village and he's on brown, and it just totally reminded me of that, just how it was shot, just the absolute awful, the carnage of the scene. And of course, there also is a long tracking shot. It is a great shot because it all takes place in a house, and using child actors and having them do all this work in this amount of time, this long period of time, must have been challenging. So I commend the guy for doing it. In the end, Beasts of No Nation is a very depressing movie. You will not enjoy yourself. You will appreciate how good the film is. You will appreciate the story. You will appreciate what you are seeing, just how well it is put together. This film shows how desensitized these kids are, and it is fantastic. Just, it's horrifying. It's absolutely just emotionally crippling, but it is fantastic to watch just because it is pulling at your emotions, because there is such a moral ambiguity at the beginning of the film. At first, you kind of almost side with who Agu's with because of what happens to him, but then you actually start to see, and eventually you realize that it's awful. There's no good to it. So in final closing, Beasts of No Nation is one of the best movies of this year that I've seen. It's there with Mad Max. It's there with Sirico. But the only problem this movie has, now, it's unfortunate, you guys are probably going to hate that I say this, but it's true, I could never really watch this movie again. It was that emotionally discouraging. Sirico I could, because I just liked the idea of a thriller, but this was just, I don't know, it's kind of like trying to watch Schindler's List right after you just watched it. So in the end, I'm giving Beasts of No Nation a 6 out of 7. It is one of the best films of this year, bar none. It's just really, really depressing. Anyway, guys, that's all for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you guys enjoyed the new intro, and I will be seeing you later. Buckle down.